Hi guys, welcome to the Guitar Shed. I'm Duncan Ryan coming to you again. Today what I want to talk about is a technique that's fairly simple but makes a very big difference in your playing, and that's called string skipping. For those of you who may not know what string skipping is, basically it is when you are playing an ascending or descending series of notes or a particular scale. It doesn't necessarily have to be all ascending or all descending, it's just a very common thing to use it in. And rather than say, well, for example, let's take a harmonic minor, a basic harmonic minor scale in this pattern, which goes across 3 strings. Essentially, if I was string skipping, I would cut out the middle string in that, just as a very basic example, and essentially just play. Now I know that doesn't seem too complicated or sound like much, but when you do it at very high speeds, it adds a lot of depth and a lot of diversity to your playing. Most of the super technical lead guitarists, Yngwie Malmsteen, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Jeff Loomis, Chris Broderick, etc., etc., use this technique very heavily to give notes that are really played almost so fast that it's very hard to differentiate them a distinct breaking point, because what it can do is it can help you create a sudden shift from very high notes to very low notes, which gives an interesting feel to music. So essentially, what I'm going to show you today is a basic exercise for practicing your string skipping, which you can speed up or slow down depending on the level you're at and how comfortable you feel with this technique. So let's go ahead and begin with that. What I'm essentially going to suggest trying is very simply a 1-3-4 pattern across 3 strings, except cut out the middle one and go 2 frets up. So I'll show you what I'm basically talking about right now. So essentially, you're taking the same pattern and moving it up 1 octave across the fretboard. Now what's going to be tough about this, for some of you who haven't tried this before, you're going to be tempted to play your first pattern, and then what you're going to be tempted to do is go up to the next string, the immediate next string, and start playing there, and that's something you don't want to do. What you want to do is essentially and if you watch my picking hand, what I'm actually doing is when I go to make the transition from the 2nd string to the 4th string, what I'm actually sort of doing is I'm raising my hand up. I don't know if you can really see it on camera, but I'm raising my hand up just enough that the pick never touches that 3rd string. So rather than playing as I normally would, something like, which of course would feel much more comfortable if that's how you're used to doing it, I'm instead raising my hand up so that I don't even have the chance to pick that, because you can very easily forget that you're not supposed to pick that if you get used to doing that, which most people do. Usually you play 1 string after the next. So first thing we're going to do is slow that down to a very slow pace for those of you who are just starting out with it. And you can see what I'm doing is I'm actually bringing my first finger back up to the 5th fret, while my 3rd finger is still way down here on the 8th. So when I'm playing this first section, this finger has already transitioned back up to the 5 on the correct string, which does help. If you can get yourself into that pattern, it does help quite a lot to be able to do that. Now once you've actually gotten this section down, then you can try the octave I was talking about earlier, and then if you get to where you're feeling fairly comfortable at it, try transitioning between the 2. And then eventually, of course, you can speed it up to a full speed of something like this. And then add some diversity in there. Or you could even alternate pick it. You know, add some interesting scale variations in there to keep yourself going, because it can be very boring, obviously, just practicing the same thing over and over and over again. And essentially, once you get that basic routine down, it becomes very, very easy to skip, 2 or 3 strings, or to skip strings with greater intervals between the frets you're hitting. And then eventually, you can work your way up to being able to even do, say, something like a, well, this is more of a minor scale variation, but something like this. And actually, you saw what I was doing there is coming back to the string I skipped. I was skipping my B string in the original pattern and going straight to the high E, and then coming back to the B string. And that's something that can add a lot of interesting feel to your playing, because that actually creates an ascension and a descension within the same lick. And it's very easy to do, very, very easy to get the hang of once you are practicing it. But if you haven't practiced it before, trust me, you're going to hit the string you're trying to skip. It's really not avoidable. But yeah, it's a way to add quite a lot to your playing, and it makes you sound really awesome. So, as usual, questions, comments, criticisms, anything you want to tell me, please feel free to comment or shoot us a message. This channel is, as I've always said, more for you guys than for me. I always want to see what you guys want me to be doing, and have fun playing this lick.